I have a coin. It is unaltered, not a trick coin or anything like that. How many sides does this coin have? Which side is more valuable than the other? When I give the coin to a cashier, I don't make sure the cashier sees heads or tails depending on which I deem more valuable. No, if I did that, my parents would worry and send me to a psychiatrist. If your answer was two sides, and either side is equally valuable, then let me ask you, how does this work in real life? Let's say the coin is a human being, and either side is gender, male and female, that is. Gender issues are not new. During the 19th century, women began demanding equal rights, human rights, like the right to vote, the right to own property, and the right to have control over their own earnings, all in the name of feminism. Feminism, as defined by Google, is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. Women now have those rights, but they're having a new problem. They're not getting equal pay for the same work. Now you might say, maybe the majority of the population is male, and that's why we see male workers in higher positions. Actually, the ratio of women to men now is 51 to 49. Women clearly outnumber men, yet they hold few political positions. This year, women only make up 19% of Congress, which is better than 2013, where women only made up 13%. But after last week's election, women are now up to 22%, which is way better, but we still have a long way to go. According to the National Association of Women Business Owners, 39% of businesses are owned by women, and the majority of these businesses are considered to be small businesses. Now, you might say it's a question of qualification. But if you look back at history, several great achievements were made by women. Marie Curie in science, Amelia Earhart in aerodynamics, and Fields Medal winner Maryam Mirzakhani in math. It's not really a question of qualification, if you ask me. Rather, I would say it's the lack of opportunity. Have you ever noticed that despite how developed we say we are, we have never had a female president or vice president? But if you look at Pakistan, a developing country, they were open enough to accept a female prime minister. So have Bangladesh, Nepal, and the UK, to name a few. Feminists thought the solution to this issue would be equality between genders in all aspects, thus trying to make the two genders one and the same. So if we say W is woman and M is men, that means that if this statement is true, W equals men, and they can be used interchangeably. Take a look at the person next to you. Go ahead, I'll wait. If this statement is true, then we should all be carbon copies of each other. That means I can replace you by the person next to you, and you would know better than anyone else that wouldn't work. Equality is fairness, not sameness. Whenever I think of fairness not being the same as sameness, I remember a story Muhammad Ali told, the Olympic gold medal winner of the 1960s. He was also called the champion of civil rights by a British prime minister. After he won that gold medal in 1960, he went downtown to a segregated restaurant, took a seat, and ordered a cup of coffee and a hot dog. The waitress said, "We don't serve black people." She didn't say black. That was purified. You're welcome. He said, "I don't need them either, just give me a cup of coffee." Long story short, Muhammad Ali had to leave that restaurant. But when you look back at his life, he never tried to be something he wasn't. In his case, white. He's embraced his chocolatey complexion, stood up to the mistreatment, and fought for civil rights. He was invited on white TV shows and took every chance he got to fight for what he believed in. Women should do the same. Don't try to be men because of the mistreatment. Stay true to yourselves and fight against it. If you look back at history, where did this problem start, this problem of equality? Well, the men were the ones to go out, hunt, scavenge, and communicate with other tribes, while the women stayed back to tend to the children and the farm. Over time, men's contribution to society could be measured in money. Well, women's couldn't be measured since, well, you don't exactly get paid to raise your own kids. Women's contribution was being devalued. So, to overcome this, women made men the obstacle. Women made men the model or the standard. And from there, women needed to act like men, dress like men, behave like men, and like things men would like. Till this day, I have not seen a woman in the position of Hillary Clinton or Queen Elizabeth dressed with her hair down and long in a feminine dress like Reese Witherspoon in Legally Blonde. Now, what would the ideal feminist world look like? We would live in one of two scenarios. The first being women would replace men. They would work outside, and the men would tend to the children at home. After a while, men would rebel, just like women are right now, and we just keep going in a vicious circle. And the second scenario would be where men and women are equal. Both work outside of the house, and the child is left to be raised by no one since no one's home. That would be like two pilots in the same plane, each driving in their own direction. Just saying, I would not want to be on that plane. A loss in individuality is a loss in diversity. We need to stay true to ourselves and not try to be men because of the mistreatment. Men and women complement each other like salt and sugar to create a sweet and salty masterpiece. So I call you, men and women alike, when you look at someone, look for the value. And remember this coin. Regardless of the side, it has the same value. Difference is not weakness. And as Aristotle said, the worst form of inequality is to make unequal things equal. Thank you.